From Delhi, in the studios in Delhi, we have senior journalist Dibang, KC Singh, former Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs. From Delhi, G. Parthasarathy in our studios in Delhi, former diplomat. We are also joined by Manoj Joy, editor and publisher of Waves, live from Chennai this evening. And our guest from Milan, Rocco Tofaletti, is a senior advocate who believes this case should have international jurisdiction. And I'm joined once again by Alexandro Maria Tirelli, who still believes the Marines should not have been sent back to India. And he's also joined by Emanuele Giordana, who's president of Letter 22, an independent journalists organization. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This discussion, it goes on at a time when there's a live news conference going on of the Italian politicians in Delhi. My first question is to Alexandro Maria Tirelli. Mr. Tirelli, you and I have openly disagreed. You and I have openly disagreed on this issue. Now, after all the bravado of your government, today your Marines are tamely sent back. It must be a huge loss of face and a major capitulation by your Italian government. It must be extremely embarrassing for the Italian government to have to do this.
Yes, of course. The situation is, of course, a little bit embarrassing because we don't reach, of course, a conflict because we are too strong and peaceful nation and very reasonable. But I think that we have to split the political way of analysis and the juridical one. In the sense, if we have to talk about jurisdiction, we can talk about it. If we want to talk about a diplomatic way to solve this standoff, yes, we can talk about it. And I sincerely hope that Italy and India, that the governments find a way.
No.
But of course...
on jurisdiction.
I don't know if you hear me.
On the question of jurisdiction. On the question of jurisdiction, Alexandro Maria Tirelli, I want to ask you, as well as Emanuele Giordana, who is there with you, that Italians, I think, have now accepted India's jurisdiction in this case. If they did not accept India's jurisdiction in this case, why would they send the Marines back?
I will let Emanuele Giordana to talk. I just want to tell one thing before, in the sense, and very shortly, in the sense that maybe Italy didn't have a strong and fixed position at the first at the beginning of the story.
They did not.
And this is
I agree.
our blame, we can say. But in fact, I think that we can say that the two sources, the two laws, the two international laws that we must apply in this case, in this unfortunate case, these two are two treaties, the Montego Bay Convention and the IMO. And I think that this is, of course, a reasonable way of analysis by Italian government, in the sense that Italy want to apply Italian jurisdiction according
but you accepted.
the international treaties.
But you accepted. Why were you already accepted Indian jurisdiction in this case? You have sent your Marines back because you have realized your mistake in trying to challenge Indian jurisdiction. I'd like to hear from Emanuele Giordana as well on this.
Yes, I will let Mr. Giordana answer on the position.
Now, let me say, first of all, that I think that the first Italian decision was completely wrong, the decision on 11 March. And I think the position now is the right position, to give back the Marines to India. But let me say that is not a wrong position of Italy, but is a wrong position of some minister of the Republic, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and a Minister of Defense. As we see in these days, what is emerging in the press and also in public declaration is that our Prime Minister and our President of Republic, Mr. Napolitano, they didn't agree exactly with the Minister of External Affairs and Minister of Defense they're acting practically alone. This is a political responsibility of one or two ministers, and of course involving all my country, but I think now we can have a solution.
Okay, let's get the Indian representatives in.
Yes.
First to G. Parthasarathy. G. Parthasarathy, there are different explanations coming in now. My fundamental question is, do you think the Italians have realized their mistake in the first place?
Look, I think, Arunabh, you have to realize the following.
The line is off.
One, the Italians have egg all over their face. Second, they gave an assurance that they would come back. They did not come back. Now, what has happened? If you recall, when the Marines went back, whatever these Italians may say, they were welcomed back like conquering heroes by no less than the Prime Minister and the Defense Minister,
That's true.
which was astonishing. Secondly, from what I gather, the Italians, there are serious differences in this within the cabinet.
Yep.
That is natural. Italians always quarrel with each other. But what I found astonishing was the statement by the Italian Deputy Foreign Minister here that he did not know that the death sentence would not be applicable in such a case. Firstly, there is a Supreme Court judgment that it is not applied except in the rarest of rare.
Truly.
The Italians had the best lawyer in the country, Harish Salve, representing them. Are they telling us that Mr. Salve did not advise them of these provisions? They knew. And the other point is, while they got support on their talk about diplomatic immunities from the European Union and others, they got no support from the European Union or from the US on the substance of the case. They told them settle it amicably with the Indians.
Yeah.
They can say anything right now.
Yeah.
They were isolated within Europe. They got egg on their face. And right now they have to make the best of what as a bad bargain. One little point, and I'm not a legal luminary, we are saying that the death penalty is not applicable in the rarest of the rare cases, except in the rarest of it. I'm not sure if the Supreme Court has very precisely defined it. If they have, then it's fine.
No, the question here is, and I want to ask this question to Rocco Toffaletti, who is joining us from Milan. Mr. Toffaletti, the Italians say that they returned the Marines because the government of India told them the Marines will not receive the death penalty. However, how come Italians are not aware of the fact? Didn't the legal team of the Italians do the necessary homework for them to know that this case does not merit that rarest of rare category and hence would not get the death penalty? In other words, this whole thing which the Italian government is saying, because the Indians told us we will not hang the Italian Marines, we send them back, cannot be taken at face value, Mr. Toffaletti.
Good evening. Well, again, I guess that I believe that the Italians sent back the mariners because they missed their obligation. In effect, the mariners were sent back to Italy for elections for just a period of time, and they had to come back. Then, unfortunately, some wrongfully decisions have been taken in the wild, but what is clear to everybody that the Marines are back, and so we missed our obligation. That's the fact that the Marines are back, to my point of view, has nothing to do with the Italian recognition of an Indian jurisdiction, which is an open question to my point of view. That's my opinion.
No, but why have they been returned then? The only conclusion I can draw is, and I put this question once again to Alexandro Maria Tirelli, I open this up to our Indian guest.
Yes.
Mr. Tirelli, you see, the fact is this.
If you allow me, just
can I ask you a question, Mr. Tirelli, and then you answer?
Claire, yes, of course you can ask me.
My
Sure,
question
tell
to
me.
you is, Mr. Tirelli, Italian politicians use the Marines politically. They wanted to use the Marines while they were fighting an election, which is why 2 days before your election, these two people were brought back and the Prime Minister received them at the airport. In other words, your politicians used your Marines as political pawns. Now the elections are over, they have sent them back. It's a use and throw policy. of the Italian politicians?
Sir, I'm very sorry because the line is awful and I can't hear you very good. But I imagine that you ask me which will be the position of Italian government, the politics in relation of the Marines. I want to tell you two things, if you allow me to say that. Number one, in Italy we are in a very particular changing moment, in the sense that we had an election now, and the political scenario in Italy now is very different from the scenario of 2 months ago. The lords, we can say, of politics now are different people. So, of course, we must wait a little bit to understand which will be the position of the new government in relation of Marines affair.
I don't know.
This is one
no, that means,
of the.
that means
this
the
is
Italian,
one of the elements that we have to.
Mr. Tirelli, that means you are admitting on an
Yes.
Indian TV channel that your government has no consistency, that you keep changing your position depending on which political party comes to power. KC Singh, I want KC Singh, Indian diplomat, to respond to what you're saying here today.
Italy. Now, of course, Italy is one, and the political responsibility is not of one government, of the other governments. In the international law, Italy is Italy, period.
No.
But of course, a new government could give another kind of scenario to
but you see,
that affair.
no, one second.
Number two, if you allow me to finish. Allow me to finish this point, then I will let you go on answers. We don't we can't forget that the two mariners are in front of a judge. That means that, one thing is the government, the administration. Other thing is the judicial power, the judicial function.
Yes.
So I think that it will be very difficult that the judicial power let the new government or a government decide alone on the matter.
Well, Mr. Tirelli,
because the mariners are in front of a judge, so they must
Tirelli,
respect.
I would like to believe you. Honestly, trust me. I would like to believe you. The people of India would like to believe you, but we cannot believe you because they were in front of a judge when they decided to run away from India illegally. KC Singh, let me get you in on this. KC Singh, do you take these excuses that are coming in from Italy at face value, and why do you think these Marines have now been returned?
Sir,
Arnab, it's very difficult to assess political motives, but I don't think the Italians would be the first ones to respond to political opinion and start taking decisions. We do it here, every country does it. But the moral of the story is that you have a human tragedy, you have contested jurisdiction, you've allowed inflamed public opinion in India first to determine your action, and then the Italians have done likewise. And then you realize it's become untenable, and now diplomacy sets in, and fortunately they are again able to recollect it. Now, essentially it's a compromise. The compromise is, if India wanted to have their way, after all, they're fugitives from law, they shouldn't have come back with their deputy foreign minister with a press conference being given, explanations, etc. They should have been taken into custody. Now, that has not happened. So the compromise is that they'll be allowed to stay wherever the Italians put them up, and they remain in the Italian embassy. They're essentially on Italian soil while their custody is there, while the new trial takes place. And in any case, the Supreme Court itself in its judgment has permitted the new court to allow the re-examination of the basic issue of jurisdiction. So the Italians will contest the jurisdiction.
But they were not like they were in...
decided that too much damage had been done.
No, but it's not like
too much damage had been done.
No, but
too many diametrically...
But KC, it was not like these Marines were being treated badly. While they were in Kerala, they were in the CRPF guest house where they had lounge chairs. They were very, very extremely comfortable. They were not in jail-like conditions at all in the first place.
Arnab,
yes, Debang wants to say something here. Debang.
I think the Italian just a minute. The Italian mistake was that after the Supreme Court judgment came, as you know, they came back after Christmas, but they panicked after the Supreme Court judgment, and maybe, as you said, combined with maybe a desire to use it in domestic elections. a combination
One
of
sec,
factors
Dibang is saying something
led to
here.
a series of mistakes on both sides.
Dibang.
They pay 1 crore each to the two hires of these two Marines who have been killed. They come to the Kerala High Court on 27th of April and say, we have reached a compromise. This comes to the Supreme Court here in Delhi on the 30th of April. And Supreme Court says this is illegal. Why are you trying to, I'm quoting exact words, why are you trying to play with the Indian judicial system? It's shocking. So, you know, they may say all kinds of things now, but the thing is that they have used too much craft in this case and which is coming out. So it's only under pressure, and you rightly said, you know, there's going to be, the business volume is going to be 15 billion in 2015. So it's under that pressure. So if they are saying all this, you must keep in mind how they behaved and how they tried to pay, and you know, it was as if they were trying to pay but blood money. This is not the system here in India.
Yeah, it doesn't work here in India like that. I want to get in Manoj Joy. What explains the change of heart, Manoj? What do you think?
Yeah, see, these guys were, no, I don't agree. No, this morning I read in the paper that no, they want the fundamental rights to be protected. What are the fundamental rights they're talking about? They have been enjoying their life in India, right from the day one they came to India. And I was in Cochin when these guys were arrested. They were leading a king's life. We had more than 70 to 80 policemen standing guard to pick up these two guys. Do you need 70 to 80 guys to pick up these two chaps? And they were not even allowed to board the ship. And by then all the data were destroyed. The VDR was, and the police never had the opportunity to board their ship. And right from day one they have been playing the drama. And this is the extended drama what you have been seeing now.
I want to go back to Rome. Manoj, I'm coming back to you. I want to go back to our guests, Emmanuel Giordana and Alessandro Maria Tirelli in Rome. Gentlemen, can I have your attention, please? My question to Alessandro Maria Tirelli. Mr. Tirelli, can you hear me? My question to you is, Mr. Tirelli and Emmanuel Giordana, I do not think I have their attention. But Italy says, and this question, therefore, I put across to our guest in Milan. Mr. Toffaletti, Italy says it has decided to return these men after receiving a written assurance from Indian authorities that their fundamental rights will be respected. Can you tell the people of India, what is the fundamental right? What fundamental rights were violated of these Italians in the first place?
Si recupera, no?
Mr. Toffaletti, can you hear me? Mr. Rocco Toffaletti in Milan, can you hear me, sir? Mr. Toffaletti? Now, I don't think I'm getting the audio line there. Let me put that question to you, Dibang. What are the fundamental rights which were being violated in the first place, in your view?
Arnab, the thing is that they didn't get along well. I mean, they were not unanimous in this. And the foreign minister and the defense minister decided that these people will not go back on the 11th of March. They wanted a way out. And now the latest is that on Tuesday, these two are going to explain to the parliament in Italy on why they had said that the Marines won't go back to India, won't come back to India. So they have to explain. The thing is that they had the elections, they wanted somebody big, something to talk about, and they got these two Marines, they used the Marines, and then they sent them back. There's no reason. Even when they went for Christmas, these trigger-happy Marines were received by the president there, which is again a big mistake. In fact, a lot of people in Italy are questioning the way the Prime Minister, the Defense Minister, and the Foreign Minister have acted in this case.
So, Mr. Parsati, what emerges is that the Italians used the Marines politically. It was simply a political issue in Italy, that's all, and we gave in.
No, I think worse still is I still have my doubts. Firstly, to begin with, as Debang says, the treatment they received in Cochin was scandalous. Would any other prisoner charged with murder have received such treatment? Suppose instead of Italians, these guys were from Thailand or Bangladesh or Sri Lanka. Would they have been treated like this? I mean, what's so special about Italians and West Europeans? Second point is, there is some talk of a deal having been reached or an agreement signed whereby people convicted here will be sent to Italy for facing their sentence. Now, in effect, that would mean these guys come to India, spend their time in VIP comfort, live in the luxury of the Italian
Exactly.
embassy, never see an Indian jail and go back to Italy.
Exactly. And doesn't the government of India know that? Salman Khurshid, who is taking a lot of credit in this particular case, saying diplomacy works. KC Singh, is this position entirely possible? We've cut a deal with the Italians, and that deal allows the Italian convicts to go away the moment they are convicted in India. So it's possible these two Marines will stay in the Italian embassy, have fantastic facilities, be in the embassy, never get out of the embassy. The moment they are convicted, they'll take the next flight and go back to Rome. Doesn't this seem an entirely likely situation? In which case the people of India are actually being fooled, in a sense.
Look, let's separate two things. Now, transferring a sentenced prisoner is not a special agreement that we have with Italy alone. We have this agreement with a number of countries. I, in fact, negotiated one with France.
No, but we...
This is essentially a civilized way of treating...
KC,
it is not a single agreement. Let's be very clear about it.
We signed this agreement.
I'm conceding your argument.
We signed this agreement when?
Yeah,
we signed this agreement with Italy in the middle of this controversy.
Accepted.
So it was being signed in order to give this leeway.
That's the point. That's the point.
Accepted. The hurry with which it was signed
as a matter of course
seems to indicate a desire to accommodate them. But otherwise, please understand that this is not a one-off agreement. It's actually agreements which all civilized countries are signing with each other. You don't want to keep holding prisoners of other nationalities. But they cannot let those prisoners off. They have to serve their sentence.
Okay.
All right. Now, as far as your argument is concerned, it's true. There's been a deal. There's obviously an arrangement. And you'll see as time goes on, more and more of this will come out. Intention is, I think, worst case scenario is, from the Italian point of view, that a sentence is pronounced and then they are transferred back to serve the sentence in Italy.
I think I have the guest from Rome back again. Mr. Tirelli and Emmanuel Giordana, can you hear me now? I seem to have lost you in between in the discussion. Can you hear me, gentlemen? Mr. Giordana, Mr. Tirelli, can you hear me? Mr. Toffoletti, you can hear me surely?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I can.
I have a question.
Well, if you allow me, I would like to take back...
Yeah,
yes. Please.
No, please continue. Please continue. I ask my question after you complete.
Yeah, if you allow me, I wish to go back to the origin of this bad accident occur, and to take it into its framework. And I would like to bear in mind, I wish that everybody bear in mind that this unfortunate accident occurred within the framework of an international fight against piracy, which is a very big problem to the international navigation, with a huge cost in terms of economics and as well of lives.
Oh, well,
I may remind that since 2007, over 43 seafarers have been killed and more than 2,600 have been held hostage.
No,
Mr. Toffoletti, G. Parthasarthi wants to respond to you. Yes, go ahead, Mr.
Mr. Toffoletti, we agree on piracy, but there is the anti-piracy operations of NATO and of all other countries are confined to the Straits of Oman and the Somalia coast. There is no piracy along the Indian coast line, which is heavily protected by our Coast Guard. We don't need Italian Marines to protect our Coast Guard. So, a piracy argument would not hold on India's
I'm not saying that.
Please. Beyond.
No, they have also violated...
I fully understand and agree on what you're saying. I'm not suggesting that India is facing this problem. I'm saying that it's an international problem.
Yeah, but
so that inside this framework, a legal framework, which is developing, because it's not clear enough.
One more question. One more question.
Our mariners were engaged, were...
Go ahead, Mr. Patsati. I think you're getting one more rebut. Go ahead.
One more question.
Go on.
If these Marines were along the shores of France,
Please.
would you shoot at a French ship like that? Would. They were trigger happy. That's the reality.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Well, the simple question which is being asked, I think Mr. Tirelli heard you. Mr. Tirelli, you heard that question from G. Parthasarathy?
Can you repeat the question, please?
The question is being repeated. Mr. Parthasarathy, former Indian diplomat, is asking a question. Ask your question again, please.
You said this, according to the laws of piracy, it is not confined to Somalia and the coast of Oman. If these Marines were on a ship off the coast of France and they shot a fishing vessel, would they shoot the navigator and a sailor? The only people they could see.
Well, sir, there is some provocation in this kind of question. I cannot stay in the head of Marines in that position. I think that we are making a big mistake in the sense that we have not to talk about the merits of the facts. I don't want to enter in the question if the Marines made something good or wrong, if their conduct was correct or not. I think we have to make a very wide analysis on the questions. I think that it will be very, very, very important the decision of the Italian judge about the international or national water. First of all, we must understand if the facts happen in international or international water. This is the first point. Because from the first point we will decide the rest of the story. I'm not a judge, I'm not a lawyer involved in the case, so I don't want to talk about the merits of the accident. We have to talk about the general surface, the political one and the juridical one. I think so.
Mr. Tirelli, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, welcome into the discussion. Mr. Tirelli, I want the next question to go from senior journalist Dibang to you. The fact is, if your foreign minister and your government was so sure that they did the right thing by whisking away the Marines, I want to know today what brought about a change of heart. Why did you change your position overnight? Dibang, what is your question to our guests in Rome? Go ahead.
Mr. Tirelli, isn't it true that on Tuesday the defense minister and the foreign minister are going to explain to the parliament why they had said on the March 11th that these Marines are not going to go back? Isn't that a serious matter? Isn't it true that the Prime Minister and the President didn't agree with this decision not to send back the Marines? And isn't it true, is there in the Italian press, that these two people were unprofessional? They didn't fire any warning shots, nothing. They just killed these two fishermen. Is there in the Italian press?
Let's say that what we know is that our Prime Minister, in the moment of the decision of 11 March, was in Brussels. And our President, Mr. Napolitano, as you know, has many questions to resolve in this day. So what was emerging is that there was a lack of communication between ministers. That is a very bad fact.
Are you saying that the relationship with India is so trivial that the Prime Minister was away and the President had other pressing matters to think about? And that's how your defense minister and your foreign minister took this terrible decision?
I will say that the Minister of Foreign Affairs took the responsibility of the decision. And of course, according to my opinion, you have to give a response to our parliament. So we know that both the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Minister of Defense, we go to the parliament and display. I think that we a good thing to have the resignation of our minister.
Well, I hope,
position.
obviously they have made such a grievous mistake.
Let me add let me add only one thing, and then I will give to Mr. Tirelli. We can say, we can look at the issue in terms of India is the winner, Italian is the loser.
Yes, that's
If
true.
you want, we can do like that. But I think now,
No,
with the
justice is
Marines
the winner.
coming back to India,
Justice is the winner.
Mr. Giordana, it is not about who is the winner and the loser. It is simply a question of who is right and who is wrong. The Italians were wrong, the Indians are right. The Italians have understood they were wrong, and that is simply...
In Italy, sorry, sir.
That's why they have given in now. That's
In Italy, we have a saying. In Italy, we have a saying, and that saying it's a popular folk thing. We say in Italy, if you want the reason, I give you the reason. I think it's not question of giving or taking out the reason. The question is to solve the problems. You were talking about the need of a foreign minister to go to the parliament and to report about the situation. I want to remake the same question. Which minister and which parliament? We are in a very different scenario. And I think that the scenario can change in the next weeks. I think in a couple of weeks. So I think that even the Indian audience should have a little passion to see if we can find a diplomatic way.
Absolutely.
And I want to tell you one thing, and it's a very important point of view. Of course, the political Italian position is in favor of India, even because India is one of the, the powerful country in that region, and we know very well, and the government know very well, the importance of India, even for the question of borders to Pakistan and for many other reasons, the commercial reason, the position of India onto the ocean. So I think that both countries should make a big effort to find a diplomatic way and the solution.
Yeah, absolutely.
I imagine, because if I was an Indian, I would feel very upset, and I would feel that Italy conned my government and betrayed the trust of a country.
Yeah.
But we have to bypass this moment, because
Mr.
India is a
Tirelli,
very strategic and a very important country in that area.
I agree.
Even our cultures are very close. So
I agree.
I want to invest on the good feeling between India and Italy.
I agree. I completely...
And not to find,
Mr. Tirelli, I just want to say two things to you.
The last thing, we have to find the reason to make the peace, and not reason to fight and struggle on the question.
Absolutely, Mr. Tirelli. I 100% agree with you that India is too powerful a country for Italy to mess around with, but they should have realized that there's an Indian saying, the only thing worse than creating a problem is to say we'll solve a problem after creating the problem. That's an old Indian saying. My question goes to Abhishek Manu Singhvi. Very briefly, my question to you, sir, is this. There is a concern here that the Italian Marines have come back. They will stay in the Italian embassy. As per an agreement that your government has reached with the government of Italy in the last part of 2012, the Italian Marines will go back to Rome the moment they are convicted. Essentially, therefore, they will never be in an Indian jail. They will never really face Indian justice effectively because of a backroom deal that you signed with the Italians while this case was going on. Am I correct?
I think that would be going too far. There are countries with what they call transfer of sentencing treaties. I'm only answering a narrow question, Arnab. These treaties are certainly not executed with a one single incident situation in mind. They can be of huge benefit to India in reverse situations. They would be of benefit to Italians, but this is the way treaties work. And once you enter into a treaty, you wouldn't want to be accusing India of exactly what the Italian ambassador did when he breached an undertaking.
but
you simply also cannot breach treaties.
But why
So
was
I think
this?
that it's
why
to
was
question
this-
the very execution of a treaty.
Why was this-
Execution of a treaty is a larger issue. It's a policy issue. It's part of the sovereignty of India which allows it to do that.
Sure.
And I think to limit it to a single country, now as somebody pointed out in another program, there are some 130 people languishing from India in Italian prisons. Who knows how many of those may be entitled to and may be able to take advantage of that. So I think let's not take it that far. Secondly, Arnab, I think there is, personally speaking, I don't think we have to believe the Italians as to what made them take the Marines back and then now why they are coming back because of death penalty, etc., etc. I think it's quite clear, and I think it's a fair, reasonable guess, we are not children after all here, that they intended to let them abscond. And now, for whatever reason, they've come back. But the fact that we should not believe the Italian story today doesn't mean that we should also not to some extent applaud the basic fact that they are back. I mean, there is a success of diplomacy. Most importantly, there is a huge success of the majesty of the apex court. Now,
I don't know whether it is the court or diplomacy.
Reasons, or the restrictions put on the movement of the Italian ambassador. But the point is,
Put by the
in
court, not the
situation we were in
government.
5 days
Restrictions put by the court, not the
That's
government.
all right, I said so.
Ah.
Let's not, look. That's
No,
not
it's
the
government's
point.
trying to take some credit.
That's not the point. After all, they also went under a court order. Please
Sure they
don't
did.
try to criticize the government when you don't want to criticize the court.
Sure, they did, but after
So
the
let's be
after the
clear.
court,
They came back, and I think
after the additional
that's I think a plus. We are a very self-critical country. Occasionally we should be partially self-congratulatory. And last but not the least, I've been hearing in other channels and otherwise on the internet a huge amount of Italian material on the television and elsewhere saying, oh, Italy is a terrible loser, it's a debacle, Italy has lost, India has won. I find it amusing when I turn to India that we are all criticizing ourselves.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. In fact, all that we are doing is telling the Italians you shouldn't have made such a grievous mistake in the first place. But Dr. Singhvi, I won't quarrel on that. As of now, at least the majesty of the court has been maintained. They are back, which is fantastic.
Yes, of course.
Italy has egg on its face. Probably it won't do this again. Gentlemen, I thank you very much for participating in debate number 1 on the News Hour tonight. Thank you.